Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and to another video. You read the title, so you know why we're here today, but this might be your first time consuming one of my videos, and if it is, my name is Shanique and I create videos on personal development and personal growth. Some days, like today, that video is in the form of a book review. Other days it's conversation with people, and sometimes it's just me sharing what I've learned and what life has taught me, which I believe is quite a lot, right? So hopefully that will help you along your journey, discovering yourself and trying to be a better person. And if not, and this, you have seen my content before, welcome back. Like, to me, that just means that I have created content that you find valuable. And so you want to come back and spend some time with me. You just like my vibes and you just like, it just chill and stuff. So we're going to keep each other company today as we review this book, The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol. I got my notes and I got my book and I'm ready to hop in. Like, we don't need the bag a long top. Let's get into it. All right, so I wouldn't be doing this book justice if I didn't give some, information about the author. Claude, spends a lot of time enlisted in the military. This is an old book, right? So this guy been about, and you may have even seen different versions. So if you have this book but you don't have my version, it's okay. They pretty much say the same thing. Claude spent some time in the military. He, went to World War I. And then when he came back, he transitioned out back into the civilian life as a journalist. Now, when he got started, he spent a ton of time talking to experts in religion, experts in psychology, experts in ancient magic, experts in science, just trying to gather as much information as he could about the mind and the power of actualization and manifestation and why some people make it and some people don't. And it's that knowledge that he has summarized in this book. He has, put, all of that experience, and it definitely shines through, provides a huge perspective that, he chose to share. And I definitely learned some key lessons from it, 3 as a matter of fact, and I'm going to go through them for you, with you, because you're coming to spend time with me. All right, so lesson number one is that we're all capable of achieving the desires of our heart. We're all of we. You don't need to have no special skill. You don't need to have a certain amount of money. You don't need to be born in a certain location, be of a certain gender, race, etc., etc., etc. I could list the things that, have kind of been put in this world to act as barriers to success. But I'm here to tell you that we're all capable of achieving the desires of our heart. What you, as you are right now, wherever you are right now in your life, even if it's not ideal, it can change. It can, you can envision a world that's different, a life that's different, and the adjustments can be made, right? So we're all capable of achieving the desires of our heart. So the points in this book, they're not far-fetched. You may even be doing some of the things right now and not even aware of it. So it's only when you start reading or you see oh my gosh, I've been doing this. I do this on a regular basis. I didn't even know that was a thing. I definitely had lots of moments like that in the book where oh my gosh, I'm doing that right now. But who knows? You just might be missing one piece of that. And so it's good to come in with an open mind reading the book and understand, okay, you don't know everything. I don't know everything. And there's room for growth. There's room for improvement. And there's room for increasing my knowledge base. The book looks at some reasons why, this may be your experience and also how to work through it. But ultimately, there's no problem that was unsolvable, right? The battle is in your mind. And if you start with that, and you believe that you can achieve it, you believe in yourself, then it will come to fruition at some point or another. Second lesson that I learned was suggestion is power. Right. Yes, I've heard about the law of attraction before. Yes, I've heard about manifestation or, whatever trendy word, but sometimes you just need to hear it differently for it to connect, or you need to be in a different frame of mind for it to be like, oh, that's what you were saying all this time. I got that from this book, right? So whether you tell yourself you can or you can't, you're right. You're right. How you suggest things to yourself matter. Think about it. Like if you are going for a job interview and all along on the job interview, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like I'm going to do a good job at this interview. I'm so nervous. There's so many more people who are more qualified. Then chances are, more often than not, you leave not getting the opportunity because you have already suggested to yourself that this is not meant for you. You're not qualified enough. You're not the right candidate. And sometimes, even when on the other hand, even when you're not prepared or you're not the best qualified, but this is something that you really, really want, to the point where you see yourself going to work in that job, you see yourself, with that job description, that job title, and you go to the interview and everybody just loves you. Like you blow away the panel, you get the job. Sometimes they even hire you on the spot. That's all because you removed any possibility for negativity to exist and you told yourself that this was yours. Suggestion is power. Sometimes all we need is to be able to like harness that and continue to do it no matter what, regardless of what's happening in our lives. If we continue to suggest to ourselves that, the best, this is happening for my good, the best is yet to come for me. You can be specific about how you're suggesting things to yourself. Like you're halfway there. You're more than halfway there. Because sometimes the act of suggestion is even more powerful than achieving it. So, we talk about like, if like Tony Robbins talks about priming. He talks about his incantations and how before he goes on stage or as part of his morning routine, he goes in and he ensures that, he gets his mind right. He doesn't wait for, his mind to become awake. No, he challenges himself every morning. He, makes it known that there is no other option but to show up as my best self. And it works for him because, clearly he's doing something right. So what if you could apply even a portion of that and see how that works for you? And so the suggestion aspect throughout the book, Claude, challenges you to like, test it, test this, test it, try it. There's no way for you to just shoot it down. Like, how if you never try? He'll definitely say, look, if you don't believe me, try it on yourself. Suggest something and truly believe it. Like he talks about unbelievers and, trying to change your life around people who are doubtful, extremely doubtful, and don't believe in themselves, and so they don't believe in you. Sometimes you can just do things and no one knows about it. Like challenge yourself to say, what, I'm just gonna test this out for myself. I'm just gonna see if there's any truth to it and see if it works. I've done it and it has worked wonders for me. Sometimes it's as simple as like driving up to a building and I'm like, what, there's gonna be a parking spot up front. And right as I am pulling in, somebody's pulling out right at the front of the building. Like, I don't know. I don't know what you call that more than suggestion, because there certainly wasn't one when I was pulling up to the parking lot. So try it for yourself and see how powerful the mind really is. All right. So the last thing that, I don't know if this one was something that I learned. This definitely wasn't something that I learned, but it was more of a reminder. Take impromptu action, right? So Suggestion and trust go hand in hand when it comes to yourself, right? If your aim is self-mastery and personal development, and you are, you believe 100% when you write that vision down, that vision will come to life, then you have to trust yourself, right? And sometimes, I call it the still small voice. We get prompts to it's seemingly random stuff. Sometimes it's just to go talk to that one person, or walk this way instead of another way, or stop at that shop. But it's important to heed like those calls and act on it, because responding to your intuition oftentimes leads you in the direction of the goal. Almost always. Even if it's not immediately, even if it's 2-3 years down the line, oftentimes it will start from that one random conversation that you weren't even thinking about your goal at that time, and it just happens because you already did the work of suggestion. You already did the work of being clear about the vision. So now it's time for action, right? Like, there's some work that's involved. It's not, the opportunities aren't just going to fall into your lap, but you have to trust that you're moving with intent and you're moving with strategy. And so whatever is happening on the other side of that is going to be happening for your good. We're all connected. I firmly believe, at least, that we're all connected to our higher power. And whether you call that Christ or whatever your religion is, there is definitely a higher self that's inside of us all. And once we get connected, once we get still enough to kind of hear what it is that we need to do or where we need to go, all of those things happen, for our benefit, for our good. But it's important to understand too that we must take action in a timely manner, because once we put that out there, like, things are shifting and moving around and making space for you. So if you get the call and you decide not to heed it, like sometimes 2-3 years would have passed and you're not where you need to be because you didn't take action. So trusting yourself is important. It's an exercise in and of itself, because we grew up in such a world where trust is very fickle. But I think it's worth it in terms of developing, self-confidence, self-worth, self-respect. A lot of times you see people coming out and they're so confident and you're wondering how. Like, a part of that is self-mastery. Self-mastery is what develops that competence, because you know that, okay, I've done this over and over and over for myself. So whatever I put my mind to, I will achieve it. And then that ultimately leads to confidence. So that means that you can show up in any space and relay the same kind of energy. And that's the goal. That's the goal. To show up as your true self, like to show up with all of you and not feel as though you have to dim any part of you. All right, so those are the 3 lessons, but I really want to talk about my overall reading experience. On Audible or even on YouTube, this book is 2 hours, 47 minutes, but I'm not gonna lie. It took me about a week to read this book. I know. But that's because, like, the first chapter, to me at least, was extremely technical. I don't know, it could have been the fonts or just how the information was presented, but I did find myself like reading sentences over and over to be like, like, what you just said? I didn't understand that at first glance or at first, read. So I found that I had to read over, especially that first chapter, a couple of times to actually get what was being said. But once I got past that hurdle and I started, reading through the mind stuff, I started seeing, where Claude talked about examples of other people who have demonstrated like the power of believing and the magic quote unquote behind it, then I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. I got my highlighter out. I got my pen out. I made notes. I loved that this book, outlines steps. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, be mindful of this. It's like a manual. And if you know me by now, then you know I like my books to be, a manual in terms of how they're structured. Like, don't tell me that things would work out and don't tell me how. I want to know how, so that I can get to where you are. That's the point of sharing the knowledge, right? So I love that, even though, it was small in stature, it definitely went in detail enough so that I would have felt confident, even if I was completely unaware of this kind of information, to do the things and get the results. Ultimately, of course, this is a staple. This needs to be a staple on your shelf, because even, as I said earlier, sometimes you might not be operating at your best. The motivation has left. Some things might not be going your way. And you need a pick-me-up. You need a reminder of just how awesome you are, what you're capable of, what other people have been capable of. Come back to the book. Find a page, get a copy for yourself. This is definitely not just an audible thing, but if you're like me and you need to have the book in your hand, it helps to have it. Mark the pages, write your notes, come back to them just for a refresher sometimes, because he does leave some nuggets in there that are amazing. All right, so that's it for this video. If you've made it to this point, I really, really appreciate it. I hope that whatever I shared earlier was, something that you're like, you know what? Let me trust Shanique. Can you get this book? Yeah. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me know that you like it. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button too. I want to know, was there anything, if you read the book, was there anything that you agreed with based on what I said or disagreed with? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comment section. Let's have a conversation about it. Overall, I'm looking forward to more of these opportunities to review books. I love to read. I find it relaxing more than anything. And then the knowledge is a plus. So I really enjoy doing these types of content. But until the next video, thank you guys so much for, coming in and spending some time with me. Put a little happy in your day. I hope I did. I hope I encouraged you today. And then I'll see you on the next video. All right. Bye.